Your lemon tree looks perfect. Green leaves, a strong trunk, not a single yellow spot anywhere on it, and it still refuses to give you fruit. Meanwhile, your neighbour's tree, half the size of yours, sitting in a plastic bucket on a cracked concrete patio, is dripping with lemons, so many that they've started leaving bags of them on doorsteps just to get rid of the excess. Here is what nobody tells new citrus growers. A healthy-looking lemon tree and a fruiting lemon tree are two completely different plants, and the gap between them comes down to 10 specific choices most people get wrong in the very first year of ownership. Nursery growers use these tricks on every citrus tree before it ever leaves the shop floor, and then never mention a single one of them again once the sale is made and the tag is cut off. By the time we reach trick number 6, you will finally understand why your tree keeps flowering beautifully every spring and then dropping every single bud before one of them ever becomes a lemon. Trick number 9 is the one almost nobody growing citrus in a container even knows exists, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with soil. Trick number 1, though, is where the entire outcome actually gets decided, before you've even bought a bag of soil or chosen a pot, so that is exactly where we are starting. These 10 tricks work whether you're on a shaded balcony, a sun-baked terrace, or a cold porch in winter, and they apply just as well to limes, oranges, and grapefruit, since every citrus tree runs on the same signals. Only the sunlight, the container size, and the timing change, and we'll cover how to adjust each for your space. If your tree has ever flowered generously and then dropped every bud before fruiting, Trick 6 explains exactly why. Go ahead and subscribe now because we cover tricks like this every week. Trick number 1, start with the right tree, not the right seed. It is tempting to plant the seed straight from a lemon you just ate off your own counter, but a seed-grown citrus tree is not true to its parent, and you could wait 5 to 8 full years only to discover the fruit that finally arrives is small, sour, or barely produced at all. A grafted lemon tree, the kind sold in nurseries with a visible knuckle near the base of the trunk, skips that entire gamble completely. Grafted trees carry the exact fruiting genetics of a proven productive parent tree, and many will flower and set fruit within their very first year in your care, provided everything else on this list gets handled correctly alongside it. When you're shopping, look past the tallest, most impressive tree on the shelf and check for that graft union instead. A short, sturdy, grafted tree will consistently outproduce a taller seedling every single time. Get this first decision right, and every trick after it finally has something worth building toward. Even 2 grafted trees of the same variety can differ slightly, so if a nursery has more than one option in stock, pick the bushiest, most compact plant on the shelf rather than the tallest one, since a compact grafted tree usually means more branching and more potential fruiting points packed into a smaller frame. Trick number 2, undersize the pot and you undersize the entire harvest that follows. A lemon tree's root system drives everything that happens above the soil line, and a cramped container caps that system before it ever gets the chance to properly establish itself. The minimum size worth using is 14 inches across and 14 inches deep, and larger is genuinely better whenever you have the option available to you. A half whiskey barrel or a wide glazed ceramic pot both work beautifully for this purpose. What matters even more than the material, though, is drainage, since citrus roots suffocate and rot in standing water faster than almost any other fruiting plant you could choose to grow. That means multiple generous drainage holes cut into the base, not just one small one drilled in as an afterthought. If you're repotting a tree that has already outgrown its current container, size up gradually instead of jumping straight to the largest pot you own, since excess empty soil around a small root ball simply holds moisture. Those young roots cannot use yet, which invites rot before the roots have even had a chance to spread into it. As a simple rule of thumb, move up roughly 2 to 4 inches in diameter at a time rather than doubling the pot size all at once, giving the root system room to actually catch up to its new surroundings before it's asked to fill anything larger. Trick number 3, build a potting mix that drains fast and feeds slow. Citrus roots want consistent moisture without ever actually sitting in it, and an ordinary bagged houseplant mix will drown them within a single season of use. Combine 40% garden soil, 40% coco coir or peat moss, and 20% finished compost, whether that's cow manure compost or a good quality vermicompost. Into that base, work in one generous handful of steamed bone meal, an inexpensive, slow-release source of phosphorus that strengthens root development and directly encourages flowering later in the season. If you would rather avoid animal-based ingredients entirely, organic rock phosphate performs the same essential job just as reliably and works just as well. This single addition at planting time is one of the most overlooked reasons container citrus trees flower late in the season or flower thin instead of full and generous. Mix it evenly through the entire soil rather than layering it at the bottom, so roots encounter that phosphorus naturally as they spread outward through the container, instead of only reaching it once they finally hit the base, weeks or months after they could have benefited from it. Trick number 4. Respect the 6-hour rule alongside the acclimation window that comes right after it. Citrus trees need a genuine minimum of 6 hours of direct sunlight daily in order to flower reliably, and a shadier spot will reward you with a lush, leafy tree that produces almost no fruit at all. But here is the part almost everyone skips entirely. A tree fresh from a nursery should never be repotted or placed straight into full sun immediately after you bring it home. Give it 3 to 4 days in bright, indirect light first, so it can adjust gradually to your specific environment before facing any major change to its conditions. After repotting, keep it in partial shade for roughly a week and water it once with a mild Epsom salt solution, about 1 teaspoon dissolved per litre of water, to ease the transplant shock. Skipping this short acclimation window is one of the fastest ways to send a perfectly healthy new tree straight into leaf drop within days of bringing it home, and a stressed tree will almost always delay flowering for the rest of that entire season while it recovers. Trick number 5. Water deeply, and only when the soil is genuinely asking for it, not on a fixed schedule. Citrus trees are killed far more often by overwatering than by underwatering, because their roots need real oxygen almost as urgently as they need moisture itself to survive. Before every single watering, press one finger about an inch into the soil to check its condition. If it still feels damp, wait another day before checking again, rather than watering anyway. If it is dry, water thoroughly until it runs freely out through the drainage holes, soaking the entire root ball rather than merely wetting the surface layer on top. In peak summer heat, that might mean watering daily or every other day without fail. In cooler months, it could stretch out comfortably to once a week or even less. Shallow, frequent little sprinkles actually do more harm than good here, since they train roots to stay lazily near the surface instead of growing deep, resilient, and genuinely self-sufficient underground where they belong. A tree with a deep root system also tolerates a missed watering day, far better than one that has only ever learned to expect water at the surface. And that resilience matters most during the exact stretch of hot weather when you're most likely to forget a day here and there. Now, before we go any further, if you're already growing citrus and recognizing a mistake you have quietly been making this whole time, drop a comment right now and tell me exactly which trick just explains something about your own tree. I read every single comment that comes through on these videos, because what is coming up next is the one trick that solves the single most common complaint citrus growers bring to me. Flowers that appear beautifully every spring, and then vanish completely before ever becoming fruit, no matter how healthy the rest of the tree looks. Stay through the next one, because this is the trick most people never figure out on their own, no matter how many years they've been growing citrus, and it changes everything that happens after it. If you skip ahead past this next part, you will end up right back where you started, with a tree full of pretty flowers and an empty fruit bowl come summer. Trick number 6. Feed citrus like the genuinely heavy feeder it actually is, not like an average houseplant. This is the trick that fixes bud drop more reliably than any other single change you could possibly make to your routine. During flowering and fruit set specifically, a lemon tree pulls hard on nutrients it simply cannot draw from ordinary soil alone, and a deficiency at this exact window causes the plant to abort its own flowers as a straightforward survival response to conserve energy. Start with a handful of compost worked into the topsoil monthly, doubled during active flowering season for extra support. Then add magnesium, since it is the mineral most frequently missing from container citrus specifically. Mix 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt per litre of water and spray it directly onto the undersides of the leaves every 2 weeks, exactly where the absorption pores are most concentrated. Alongside that, every 2 weeks as well, Work in a banana peel fertilizer for a natural potassium boost that supports fruit development directly and reliably. Skip any one of these three, the compost, the magnesium, or the potassium, and you will likely see flowers again next spring, followed by the exact same disappointing drop. Trick number 7, get ahead of pests before they ever get ahead of you and your harvest. Citrus trees grown in containers are especially prone to mealybugs and whiteflies, both of which hide along stems and the undersides of leaves where they are genuinely easy to miss until an infestation is already well established and spreading fast. The prevention routine here is refreshingly simple to maintain. Spray neem oil, mixed at 5 to 10 milliliters per liter of water, once every 2 weeks as a standing habit, rather than a reaction to pests you have already spotted crawling across a leaf. If an infestation has already taken hold by the time you notice it, increase that frequency to once or even twice weekly until every trace of it is fully gone from the plant. Neem oil works by disrupting the pest's life cycle rather than killing instantly on contact, so consistency matters here far more than concentration ever will across a full season. Spraying in the early evening rather than under direct midday sun also helps protect the leaves from any scorching while the oil is still wet on the surface. Trick number 8, stop over-acidifying soil that is already perfectly fine exactly as it is right now. Because lemons themselves taste intensely acidic, most new growers assume their tree needs extremely acidic soil to match that flavor and end up pushing the pH far lower than the plant actually wants or needs to thrive. Citrus performs best in soil that is only mildly acidic, somewhere between 6 and 6.5, which happens to be the same target range most flowering and fruiting plants generally prefer anyway across the board. Test your soil's pH before adding anything meant to lower it further, since over-acidified soil actually locks out several of the same micronutrients. Trick number 6 just worked so hard to supply through compost and Epsom salt. If a soil test shows you are already sitting comfortably in that 6 to 6.5 range, the correct move is simply to leave the pH alone entirely, since adding more acidifying amendments to soil that is already balanced tends to create new problems rather than solving one that was never actually there in the first place. A cheap home soil test kit costs less than a single bag of fertilizer and will save you from guessing at this entirely. Trick number 9, and this is the one almost no container grower ever thinks about until it quietly becomes a problem. Flowers alone do not make fruit, pollination does, and a balcony or an enclosed patio often has far fewer pollinating insects passing through than an open backyard garden ever would naturally. Encourage bees and butterflies into the space with a few flowering companion plants placed nearby, and avoid spraying any pesticide at all, even a mild one, while your citrus tree is actively in bloom, since that will drive pollinators away at the exact moment you need them most in the whole season. If your growing space is fully enclosed with no insect access whatsoever, hand pollination is genuinely worth doing yourself by hand. Using a small, soft paintbrush, gently transfer pollen between open flowers during late morning, once the blossoms have fully opened for the day and are receptive to it. This tiny 5-minute habit, repeated every couple of days while the tree is in bloom, is often the single missing step behind a tree that flowers heavily every year, but somehow still only produces a handful of fruit. Trick number 10. Prune with a clear purpose in mind, not just for the sake of appearance or tidiness. Regularly remove any dead, crossing, or clearly unhealthy branches to keep airflow moving freely through the canopy, since poor airflow is one of the exact conditions both pests and fungal issues actively prefer to thrive in undisturbed. Beyond that routine light maintenance, a harder structural prune once a year, either right after harvest or in early spring before new growth fully begins, redirects the tree's energy toward fewer, noticeably stronger fruiting branches, instead of spreading it thin across dozens of weak, unproductive ones scattered everywhere. A tree pruned with real intention like this consistently outproduces one left entirely unchecked, simply because every branch left standing is a branch actually getting a meaningful share of the nutrients trick number 6 spent all that effort supplying to the plant. Always use clean, sharp tools for this, since a ragged cut heals slowly and leaves the tree open to exactly the kind of infection trick 7 is working so hard to prevent. Make each cut just above a healthy outward-facing bud, so new growth spreads outward into open air rather than crowding back in toward the center of the tree. There is a version of this whole list that most people miss entirely, and it has almost nothing to do with soil, fertilizer, pests, or pruning shears at all. If you live somewhere where winters regularly drop below freezing, generally anywhere colder than USDA Zone 9, the entire advantage of growing citrus in a container rather than directly in the ground is that the tree never actually has to face that cold at all, not even once during the whole year. Once nighttime temperatures start dropping toward the low 50s, move the pot indoors to the brightest window you have available, or into an unheated but frost-free space like a garage with a south-facing window nearby that still gets light. Citrus trees do not need warmth through winter nearly as much as they simply need to avoid a hard freeze entirely, which can kill a mature tree in a single night. A tree that spends winter somewhere merely cool rather than artificially warm and stuffy actually rests properly during dormancy and often comes back flowering even harder the following spring because of that rest. Growers who skip this one step and leave a container sitting outdoors through the season's first real frost can lose in a single night what the other 9 tricks spent an entire year carefully building toward. If moving a large pot indoors isn't realistic in your space, even wrapping the container itself in burlap or bubble wrap and grouping several pots close together against a sheltered wall will buy the roots meaningful protection on the coldest nights of the year, even if the canopy above still feels the chill. None of these 10 tricks are complicated on their own, and that is really the whole point worth sitting with for a moment before we close this out. What they actually prove, altogether, is that a lemon tree that fruits generously and a lemon tree that never quite does were never really 2 different plants to begin with. They were always the same tree, simply given a different set of decisions along the way, made early and made consistently. That is true of almost everything worth growing patiently, whether it is a tree on a balcony you check on every morning, or anything else in your own life you have been quietly tending for far longer than you originally expected to. The tree does not know it is in a pot instead of open ground. It only knows whether it was given what it actually needed, when it needed it, in the right order, without being rushed. That's really all 10 of these tricks add up to. Not some rare gift for growing things, just the willingness to show up with the right decision at the right moment, over and over, until the tree finally has no reason left not to fruit. If this saved you from a mistake you were already making without even realizing it, go ahead and subscribe now so the next one finds you before that mistake does. Drop a comment below this video and tell me honestly which trick you are trying first on your own tree this week. And if you know someone who has been quietly frustrated with a citrus tree that simply will not fruit no matter what they try, go ahead and send this video their way today. Sometimes the kindest thing you can hand another person is not advice at all. It is simply the one small detail nobody ever bothered telling them in the first place. The same detail this video just handed you 10 times over. Come back next week because there's another tree, another mistake, and another fix waiting for you right here. Until then, keep that watering can close by, keep that neem oil handy, and let those 10 tricks quietly do their work in the background while you get on with the rest of your week.